Now, the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, announced on Friday that the mining industry reported 384 positive cases of COVID-19 as of Thursday, 28 May. Mantashe said that prior to ramping up production, all mining operations are required to prepare and implement a mandatory code of practice to manage the COVID-19 regulations, and failure to do so will be regarded as a criminal offence. Executive Director at Benchmark Foundation, John Capel, joins us on the line to tell us more about this. John, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, John, poor living and working conditions have plagued the mining sector for many years. Does it come as a surprise at all to you that as of the 28th of May, the industry has recorded 384 positive cases and we're not even on level 3?
Well, no, it hasn't come as a surprise, and it's come as a big concern. We warned about 4 weeks ago that there's going to be a spread of COVID-19 amongst mine workers, and that's also going to extend into communities. So, no, it doesn't come as a surprise.
Now, John, you are qualified in labour and human resources development practitioner. Why is it difficult to hold mining companies accountable?
Well, I think there's two issues at stake here. And the one is that the gold price is on the rise. Gold is very costly at the moment to mine, and those companies in gold like Sibanye and others are desperate, in fact, to hit the new gold price. But in platinum, we have, I would say, we withstood a 5-month platinum strike in 2014. I remember speaking to one of the executives at the time who said to me that they could continue to wait another year, or 2 years even. So it's not a surprise. I think there's this rush, to get back to production without considering the human cost. And that human cost is the spreading of the coronavirus, not only amongst mine workers, but into communities. And then mine workers live under very atrocious conditions. They have a living arts allowance. They live in tin shacks, and I don't believe we've gone about this in the right way. I think we should have had a period of mass testing within the industry before workers return to work, and to really uncover how many workers are infected. And then I know some mining companies have developed isolation sort of units where people can self-isolate. But, I think we've gone about the wrong way. It's the rush has been to get production going again without considering the human cost. And this is going to leave a very bad legacy on the mining industry as this disease spreads and spreads. And mine workers are also far more vulnerable to catching this disease because of their working conditions, the overcrowded conditions, their living conditions, the lack of proper nutrition, and on top of that, they're going to impact local communities. And so I think we've gone about it in the wrong way. We rushed back into production. First of all, 50% of the workers, now 100%, and it's out of control.
Now, in spite of the numbers that we told in terms of how many miners have actually been tested, there's a problem coming from the minister saying that some of the miners aren't presenting themselves with symptoms necessarily, and these are just screened and not necessarily tested. Why do you think that the mining industry is lax in actually doing more tests?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. That's where I started off. I think we should have had a period where you at least test all the workers coming back to work. You then start to get the facts of how many are infected, because we know people can walk around with the disease asymptomatically, and then we could have gone on top of this. Now we have no control over it, because if you're just testing if workers have a temperature or not, and then you're self-isolating those workers, you're not catching the rest that are entering back into the mines, and they will be the ones that are spreading the disease until they start to show symptoms. That is, if they do show symptoms.
Now, the Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nxesi, said a few days ago that there are low levels of compliance by companies. Now, you've always maintained that opening the mining industry to operate fully during this epidemic would lead to a disaster for miners. We've now seen that they're actually not complying in as far as these recent cases are concerned. Do you think that it's only the mining industry that considers profit over care, or do you think that more needs to be done by the very government that has instilled some of these laws?
Yes, I mean, I think government has really put the responsibility on the industry and said to the industry, you've got to eliminate risk, you've got to control risk, you've got to provide protective equipment, you've got to do screening, you've got to do some kind of testing, etc. for those workers that temperature is more than 35.5 degrees, but that's not enough. And we should have had a phased-in approach where this could have been controlled a lot more. And had we phased it in and phased in workers and tested properly, I think then the industry would have been on top of the issues. But otherwise, this is going to cause a human catastrophe. And mine workers are one of the most vulnerable groups in the country, and they suffer from other lung diseases, silicosis, TB, and everything. And we don't know yet what the impact is going to be.
Now, Minister Gwede Mantashe also said that his department will continue to monitor compliance through regular, unannounced and scheduled visits to mining operations. Do you think this is enough? Is this one way of dealing with the problem? I mean, we know that these unscheduled visits have been going on for some time. It's nothing new to the mining industry.
Yes. No, I don't think it's enough, and I don't think that the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy has the capacity, the internal capacity, to monitor the implementation of these kind of programs, to monitor this infectious disease and how many workers are catching it. They're not clear on that. They put the responsibility on the industry. The industry is probably not capable of dealing with that fully either. And so I think there's been a rush to get workers back to work, largely in gold, because the gold price is rising very fast. A number of these gold companies are in huge debt, like Sibanye. And even although Sibanye say they don't want to put profit before people, they've got to also tell us what they are doing and the steps that they are taking. But I don't think that the regulations as they stand are sufficient to protect mine workers going forward. And we do believe in benchmarks that we should have waited a longer period. We had a gold strike, I think it was last year, and the platinum strike in 2014 that went on for 5 months. And we should have waited much longer, and we should have done proper testing. And then we would have had the situation under some control, and we would have had certain facts in front of us that could tell us where we could open and how we could open. But at this stage, I think that that it's premature to open the mines.
All right, my final question to you before I let you go, John. We joke about level 3 and people saying we are all on our own. But miners are literally, it would appear, mine workers are on their own. I mean, we've had unions saying that there's very little intervention that they can do because they understand that these mine workers need the salary to survive. They've got nothing else to bank on. You've just also explained to us that mine workers work in the most appalling of conditions, and this has been going on for years. Who is there for the mine worker?
Yes, I mean, I think that's a big question, and I think that the unions are in a sense compromised because pressure is put on them to say, well, if you don't let workers return to work, there's going to be mass retrenchments and we're going to mechanise more. And I think these kind of threats are made to the trade union sort of movement. So it is a good question, and when the majority of mine workers live on a living-out allowance in tin shacks without access to running water or electricity,